Hi everyone, I am Joni Howe. Welcome to our breakout session today. We are talking about how to effectively run a small group session with students who struggle. I teach a self contained class, kindergarten through eighth grade, for reading and writing. And in our self contained classes, we really only teach in small groups. So there are a few things that I've noticed that really work well in a small group setting, and I thought I would share that with you guys today. Now, I know that we all teach different subjects and different grade levels, so I'm hoping that you're able to pull some of these ideas and apply them to what you're teaching to make it work for you. Okay, so I know that we do small group instruction, but why? What what's the reasoning or the why behind it? There is research evidence that backs up small group instruction. So students with reading difficulties, and I would even say any type of learning difficulty, whether it be in math or reading, who are taught in small groups learn more than students who are instructed as a whole class. And I know that we all have those students that when you're teaching a whole class, those students cannot keep up with that whole group pacing, right? They're really struggling, they're falling between the cracks. So pulling them into a small group really helps you as the teacher target that student, give them that more intensive instruction. And that is going to help that student grasp onto those concepts and learn what it is you're teaching. In a whole group, they may catch a little bit, but it's going to be that small group that's really going to help them master those things, master those concepts or standards. Students benefit from working in a variety of grouping formats that change to reflect their knowledge, skills, interests, and progress. And I know a lot of teachers use a variety of different grouping formats, whether that be um, breaking into groups for breakout rooms, smaller groups, whether they're doing pair readings, but different things like that. And I know that that really can break up the um, really that direct instruction from the teacher, and students can really benefit from that, using that time with their peers to learn rather than just that teacher directed. So just that little variety can also help them learn. So today we're going to talk about 4 different features of effective instruction. And my goal for you guys today is to take away an idea or a technique and apply that to your small group instruction. I know we all have different we all teach different grades. We all teach different subjects. But if you can take something from our breakout session today and apply it to your small group classes, that's really the goal. So just be thinking about how you can apply that to what you're teaching. So the first feature that we'll talk about is to provide explicit instruction. And really that is the type of instruction that you give during a small group class. It's very explicit. Overly teach each step through teacher modeling and many examples. So we have these struggling students that are falling behind. They can't keep up with the whole class pace. So bringing them and pulling them into a small group, you're going to be able to really focus a more intensive um, instruction with these kids. They need additional modeling. They need more examples than you would give in a whole group class. So providing them with all of those opportunities to be able to really learn the concept. Now, I would also include peer modeling with that. There are a lot of students that learn the best if they actually teach their peers what the concept is, or having a peer teach them. So just giving them a variety of opportunities. Also to help students make connections between the learning objectives or the standard that you're teaching and what they're actually doing and learning. So I know that we all present the standard or the lesson objectives at the beginning of the lesson, but don't just leave that as the beginning slide and move on. Refer back to that. So as you're teaching, you can say, wow, Jim, you really showed me that you mastered this concept. Remember in our objectives, it said that I will be able to do this, this, and this. You have shown me that you can do those things. And that just helps the student make that connection between what they're doing and what the standard is saying. So I would just recommend to refer back to that. Okay, so something else that I do with vocabulary, whenever we start a new story or a new chapter, I will list new vocabulary terms that they may not be familiar with. Now, as we're reading and we come to one of those vocabulary words and we circle it and we underline it and we talk about it, I will refer back to that vocabulary slide so we can review what the definition is. But that just helps the students make that connection between, that slide with a bunch of words and actually seeing it in context. So now as they're reading it, oh, okay, I remember what that definition is. I know what that word means. So just making sure that you're making that connection with what they're actually doing. Now we have students with multiple different learning styles, right? We have some students that learn better with their visual or visually, another student that learns better with physical or kinesthetic. So just thinking of ways that we can take our lessons and make sure that we are hitting multiple learning styles. So here I have a chart and just a list of learning styles and how we can implement them into our lessons. So I know visually we use a lot of pictures, we use a lot of images, which is awesome. That's going to hit a lot of students, that learning style. But make sure that you're not just doing the visual, making sure that you're including maybe auditory or physical or social, but trying to hit multiple learning styles in each lesson. So, yes, you have pictures. Yes, you have students drawing pictures, but also have them use their microphone and talk about what their answer is and to defend their answer with their microphone. Also, have them maybe move a little bit, physical, using their body, doing jumping jacks as they count, things like that. Just be creative with it, but just try and think about how you can apply different learning styles into your lesson. And it's really, actually, you can hit usually 3, 4 in a lesson. But the more learning styles that you present, the more students you're reaching. So just think of it that way. How many learning styles? What can I do to implement more learning styles and reach more students? The second feature of effective instruction is systematic instruction. So that is where you divide lessons and activities into sequential, manageable steps. You're really breaking it down step by step, from simple to more complex concepts and skills. So think about, paragraph writing. Paragraph writing looks daunting, but if you break it up into steps, today we are talking about how to write a topic sentence or, detail sentences or a concluding sentence. If you do it a little at a time, then you can work your way up to that complex skill, right? So just thinking about how you can break it down into more sequential, manageable steps. Routines and repetitions are your best friends, especially with struggling students. They need routines and repetition. That is how they are not only going to learn concepts, but retain that information. Now, I included a chart here that is typical forgetting curve for newly learned information. So if you're presenting something once, twice, your student is going to retain that for maybe a day. But the more that you review it and the more that you put that into a routine, the longer that's going to stay with them. So that is why we want to make sure that we are always reviewing and repeating with these struggling students, because that is really what is going to help them retain new information. Here is a depth of knowledge wheel, which we are all familiar with. I'm sure we can make them in our sleep. So I teach a self-contained class. And I'll be honest, I was really sticking with level 1 and maybe a little bit of level 2, but mainly level 1 with my students. So last year, I made it a goal for me to expose my students to more of the level 2 and level 3 vocabulary. And my students excelled. They did so well. They just absorbed all of this. They did so well. I am so proud of them. But the reason for that was because I included that vocabulary into my routine. I used it every day. I used the same vocabulary, the same terminology every day. And at the beginning, I would use the vocabulary and then I would have to, you know, include um, or a teacher or model what that means. I would have to include some sort of definition. For example, today we are making predictions. Remember, making a prediction is where we take a guess on what will happen in the story. So I would have to do that at the beginning, but after a little while, I would just say prediction and they would know what that means. So making sure that you're exposing your students to that vocabulary, but not only exposing them to it, making it part of your regular vocabulary, your regular routine. That is a great way for students to retain that information if it is part of your regular vocabulary. So just think about how you can implement something like that into your small groups, whether it's the vocabulary or whether it's, you know, whatever it may be. Maybe it's a quick review that you do at the beginning of every lesson and making that part of your routine. But as long as you are including routines and repetitions, that is what the student's going to really remember. So just be thinking about that. Okay, features of effective instruction. This is our third one. Ample practice opportunities. So we want our students to be able to demonstrate what they've learned. And we know that students are coming with a variety of different learning styles, right? So as a teacher, we need to provide multiple opportunities for students to respond and demonstrate what they have learned. Whether that is with their polling tools, with their microphone, with their typing tool, with their camera, but providing multiple opportunities for them to demonstrate their understanding. And that also helps you with your data collection on what they're able to do. Be creative with that. Go back to those learning styles. How can I implement their learning styles into being able to demonstrate understanding? Okay? Don't just make it where they always have to answer or complete a Google form. Google Forms are great, but provide other opportunities as well. All right, the fourth feature of effective instruction, immediate feedback. Making sure that you are incorporating feedback from teacher or peers during initial instruction and practice. So making sure that you're not waiting until the end of class to provide feedback for these students. Really, your feedback and needs to come during that we do, you do portion of the lesson. A lot during the we do. So if you have a student who is demonstrating double digit addition, wow, Johnny, I love how you were able to carry or regroup up to the tens place. I love that. Maybe we need to recount, make sure that you have all of your touch points or whatever it is, whatever feedback you're giving them. But make sure that you're doing it immediately. Don't wait until the end of the lesson to incorporate that feedback. Okay? Making sure that that's immediate. And I hope that you guys have come up with some ideas or are taking away something that you can implement with your small group instruction. These students are wonderful and awesome, but they struggle. And so we just want to make sure that we are providing as much help and as much as we can for these students. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great day. Bye.